From dress codes to some bizarre rules about food, these are 10 school regulations that time forgot. But are they still relevant today? Number 10, no hats. Throughout history, there has probably never been a time when hats weren't a part of everyday life. For most of human history, hats were a necessity for protection from the elements. In the early 20th century, there was a growing concern about the influence of what was being called the funnies on impressionable young minds. On the one hand, it can be a useful tool to help students focus and can even improve memory. But on the other hand, it can be a major distraction and can even lead to fights between students. Because of this, many schools have implemented a no chewing gum policy. This was usually done to prevent students from running away from home or to prevent them from wandering into traffic. However, this practice has largely been abandoned in favor of allowing students to go home during the day for lunch or after-school activities. Students caught with gum are often suspended until they can prove that they've stopped chewing it. We're all in a hurry, and sometimes we just can't help it. But despite this, many schools have strict rules against tardiness. It's a way to relieve boredom, and it's also a way to share favorite toys with friends. But despite this, many schools have banned students from bringing toys to school. This is usually done to prevent fights over toys or to prevent students from using them to distract other students. However, this can be difficult to enforce. After all, how do you know if a student has a toy in their backpack if they keep it closed? In recent years, there has been a trend towards restorative justice in schools, which emphasizes repairing harm and building relationships rather than punishment. But believe it or not, this was not always the case. In fact, it was not uncommon for children to be rude to their teachers or other school staff in the early days of compulsory education. This was seen as a major problem because it was felt that it created a negative learning environment. As a result, many schools began instituting a rule that students must say please and thank you to their teachers and other school staff. While this rule may seem like a natural extension of the previous one, it is actually much more controversial. Many teachers and administrators feel that it is unnecessary and that it does not create a positive learning environment. However, many schools still have a zero-tolerance policy when it comes to disobedience. Students who are caught talking back to their teachers or refusing to follow instructions are often suspended or expelled. This can be a problem because it can create a hostile learning environment, and it can also lead to a high number of suspensions and expulsions. Students who are late to class are often sent to detention or suspended. This is usually done to encourage students to be on time. But it can also be a major inconvenience for parents who have to take time off work to pick up their children from school. This can be difficult for students who have a hard time breaking the habit, and it can also be difficult for schools to enforce. After all, how do you know if a student is chewing gum if they keep their mouth closed? Despite the challenges, many schools have stuck to their guns when it comes to this issue. The theory was that reading comics, which had only become popular around the turn of the century, was leading children into a life of crime. After all, how else are you supposed to learn? But believe it or not, this was not always the case. Playing outside has been a part of childhood for as long as children have existed. It's a time to let off steam, explore the world, and make friends. But despite this, many schools have banned students from playing outside during recess or after school. This is usually due to liability concerns or a desire to prevent students from getting hurt. However, this has led to a decrease in physical activity among children and teenagers, which has led to a host of other problems, such as childhood obesity. In fact, it was not uncommon for students to talk back to their teachers in the early days of compulsory education. This was seen as a major problem because it was felt that it was disrespectful to the teacher, and it made it difficult to maintain order in the classroom. As a result, many schools began instituting a rule that students should only talk when they are spoken to. While this rule may seem like a natural extension of the previous one, it is actually much more controversial. Many teachers and administrators feel that it stifles creativity and critical thinking. After all, how are students supposed to learn if they're not allowed to ask questions? Of course, this was not actually true, but this didn't stop schools from cracking down on comic books. In many schools, it was against the rules to read a comic book during the school day, and teachers were often instructed to confiscate any comics found on school property. Some schools even went so far as to ban students from bringing comic books to school at all, with some banning them from even being in public during the hours that school was in session. While there's no evidence that reading comics causes criminal behavior, there is evidence that reading in general improves literacy skills and vocabulary. So maybe it wasn't such a good idea to ban them. And even after that, they remained a symbol of wealth, status, or just personal taste. So it makes sense that people would want to wear hats, especially teenagers, who are often trying to make a fashion statement. But despite this, schools have long had a rule against hats, seeing them as a potential safety hazard or a distraction to other students. Some schools even went so far as to require students to turn their hats inside out, as a symbol of submission before entering the building. While there may be some truth to the idea that hats can get in the way during class or cause problems, worn by students who are trying to cause trouble, is it really so bad if a student wears a hat to school? Many schools have relaxed their rules on hats, but some still enforce a no hats policy. 9. Don't read comics. Number 8. No chewing gum. Schools have long had a love-hate relationship with chewing gum. Number 7. Don't speak while the teacher is talking. It seems like common sense that you shouldn't talk while the teacher is talking. 6. No playing outside. Number 5. No leaving campus. In the past, it was not uncommon for schools to require students to stay on campus during the school day. Number 4. You can't be late. Being late is a fact of life. 3. You must obey your teachers. Schools have long had a difficult time balancing the need for discipline with the need to create a positive learning environment. 2. Say please and thank you. It seems like common sense that you should say please and thank you. After all, it's basic manners. 1. Don't bring toys to school. Bringing toys to school is a classic childhood behavior. Do you agree with these rules? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.